everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I thought I'll give you the highlights of Oxford when you're coming here for a day trip. These are the places I take my friends when they come to visit me. So the first stop is breakfast, and if you want a good start out the day with a big English breakfast, I would recommend you go to Watson Garden on King Edward Street. They serve a really good proper English breakfast. And Carfax Tower is the center of the city, and no building is allowed to be taller than Carfax Tower historically, and there used to be a church there, but now it's just the tower remaining. So first stop is going to be Christchurch, and we're heading down St. Aldate's, and this is what you call a Tom Tower. This is the entrance to Christchurch College, but if you're a visitor, you have to enter through the side entrance. And so we walked through this beautiful memorial garden, and the flowers change according to the seasons, and it's just a beautiful place. There was a running, I'm not sure what event it was, but there was a run going on, so we have a few runners there. And if you buy a ticket, this is the view of the dining hall, which, my friends asked, is still being used by students, and so it will be closed during lunchtime if you come to visit, so make sure that you get a ticket for it. And it's a beautiful high ceiling, and all colleges have dining halls, but Christchurch is probably one of the biggest one and most famous one because of Harry Potter. This is the famous staircase by the movie, and so if you're a big Harry Potter fan, you recognize this scene, and the ceilings are just absolutely marvelous. We're at Tom Quad, and I think this is a beautiful view of Christchurch, a very typical view when you think of Christchurch. And behind these doors, are still rooms that students do use, dormitories, libraries, and whatnot. But this is inside Christchurch Cathedral, and I was there on Good Friday, and the sun was not shining. It was really cloudy, but it was very bright outside, and for some reason that just made the stained glass really pop out. It was just absolutely breathtaking. I've been there a few times. Sometimes it's sunny outside, but you don't see the beauty of the stained glass. And Good Friday, it was just magical. This is another little courtyard, and there was this big, beautiful olive trees, which has a saying around it, saying "for the peace of all nations." When we walk out of Christchurch, I always take my friends going to the left. So walking towards along the Christchurch Meadow to the Botanic Gardens, and we can see here on the right side Botanic Gardens, and by Rose Lane, you pop up right in front of Magdalen College. So as a student, you're allowed to take in one guest in to visit the colleges. So, to Christchurch or to Magdalen College. So I took my friend into Magdalen College, which is one of my favorite colleges because they have this beautiful courtyard. When the hydrangeas are out later in the year, it's just really, really magical. And in winter, last winter, there was snow, and people had a picture of a fox playing in the courtyard, and that was really just so kind of out of an English novel. If you walk through the courts, they have this big, huge piece of land right behind them, which is where they also use as a floodplain. It's next to the river, but there's also where they have deer. So sometimes the deer would be right out by this big field, but this time it was full of daffodils and spring flowers and bluebells, and we had to walk along the path a little bit more before we spotted the deer out. I love it's just amazing, and they're just really enjoying their time there. I think it's a great place to be a deer to be in Bodleian College. It's pretty windy as it's spring weather, and you can see that the wind is really making the daffodils really dance, which is very, very much like the Wordsworth poem on daffodils, which is one of my favorite poems growing up. We read this in high school, and it stuck with me ever since. We walked past the old Magdalen College Library, and usually it's not open, but it had a special exhibition on, and we were so lucky that we were able to go up and visit it. It was my first time also, and it's just a beautiful old library where you can see the old leather-bound books, and can imagine that students used to be sitting there and working in the library, going through these books, like generations and generations of students. You have these little nooks. I think they're still being used by students, and they were not there for the exhibition, of course. This is the examination school, so we're back on High Street, and if you take exams, you still go to the examination schools. And this view along High Street. There was Oriel College, and you can see the beautiful magnolia trees in bloom earlier this month. This part is my favorite little walk. So if you walk along here, you can see the inspiration for C.S. Lewis' Narnia. You see the fawn and you see the lamppost. So the story is that on one drunken night, he stumbled out of the door, not too far from the alley, and he saw this lamppost and the fawn and was inspired for the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And so from that little path, we walked through to the Radcliffe Camera. They are mowing the grass beautifully, ready for everyone to come and visit. This is St. Mary's Church, which is the university church, and was where most of the major, matriculation or graduation of students happened before we had the Sheldonian Theatre. This is the Bodleian Library, and so it's a working library, which means that students are still using the library. And this is a statue of the 3rd Earl of Pembroke, who was Chancellor of the university. And for some reason, we don't know why, but his university crest, if you see it, has a little folded page on the top right, and it's looking out into the square. This is the Divinity School, which was one of the first classrooms at Oxford where they used to teach theology. And depending on what time of day, you can see the lights. And the crests that are on the ceiling are all of the people who donated to build this college. The Duke Humphrey Library. For students, you need to get a pass to bring friends over, but you can also buy a ticket to visit. And this is, the oldest part of the Bodleian Library. And it was just beautiful wooden painted panels, which I think are just magical. Every time I go there, I just feel like, wow, this place has survived through so much in this world, and it's such an inspiration to be there. I still have to make it to study there. I haven't gone there yet, but it's one of my goals. So coming out of the Bodleian Library, we see the Bridge of Sighs. And of course, everybody needs to take a picture of the bridge from this angle. But I actually prefer this angle from the back, when you're looking out and you see the Sheldonian Theatre right behind you. And if you walk through that, that street past, you go to New College. So this is New College, which is one of my favorite colleges. It's not really new, but new compared to the rest of Oxford colleges. And we just when Magnolia was in bloom. And if you walk through, it's really interesting is that wall you see there is the part of the old Oxford City Wall. So when they looked for a place to build the college, they were given this, piece of land right next to the wall. And one of the interesting things was that, the city said that, all right, we'll give you this land, but you need to allow us to be able to inspect this wall every year. And so every year, there is a little ceremony where Oxford City Council and the chancellors, and I'm not sure who, but they will come in and they will do a little ceremony to check the wall of New College. The gardens were beautiful and it's so peaceful inside. And I went down a really sunny blue sky. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, they also have this little courtyard where one of the Harry Potter scenes was also filmed under the tree. And so we're back now out to the Sheldonian Theatre. And so this was built in the 1600s, and this is where all the students have their matriculation ceremonies and also their graduation ceremonies. And so this was defined by the architect Christopher Wren. I love how they have the descriptions for you to, and the mirror especially, for you to see what's being painted on the wall. They even have yoga mats there, so you can lie down and just look at the ceiling, which is absolutely beautiful. And there's truth right there in the middle. If you have energy, you can climb up to the cupola. It's around 5 stories hike, and you can see the original wooden beams of the theater, which is amazing. Those trees are just huge trunks of wood, and you get a 360-degree view of the city, and you can see why Oxford is called the city of dreaming spires, because there are spires all throughout the city. And you only see it if you're really looking at it from above. When you're below, you don't really see how beautiful those spires are, especially at top of the Bodleian Library. And this is a picture of Broad Street below, and you can see the Blackwells, and you can see looking out above the colleges, and seeing Balliol there and Trinity College in the foreground, and New College there just further below. This is another free museum for you to visit. This is the History of Science Museum, and if you go to the basement, there's one of Einstein's blackboard that he wrote on why he came to lecture at Oxford in the 1930s. I think they had 2 boards, but one of them was mistakenly cleaned, so there's only one left. And if you have time, and if you're not too tired, there's also the Natural History Museum, which is a good kind of little break, and it has dinosaurs for you to look at, and a lot of beautiful fossils and specimens. We also have one of the most complete fossils of the dodo bird, which is on the 2nd floor. And there's a Pitt Rivers Museum right next to it as well. We're back on Broad Street, and this is the Western Library, and opposite the Blackwells. I always take my friends to visit Blackwells because I love bookshops, and most of my friends do as well. But one thing that a lot of people don't know is that if you go downstairs, following the Norrington Room sign, you come down to this beautiful space underground, which is full of textbooks in every subject matter. And you can just see how beautiful it is. The first time I came, I was like, wow, I didn't know this existed. For lunch, we can go to the covered market. So there's a lot of food choices here, and it's been around for 250 years. That's a very long time. And the Ben's Cookies first branch was open here in Oxford. So it's always a very popular place for people to stop and get some treats. And I think if you buy 5, you get 7 cookies. Columbia Roasters has really good coffee as well. And this is one of the most beautiful spots, I think, with the flower shop. And they just have fresh flowers all the time here. They have tulips on at the moment and a lot of spring flowers. And they can also deliver to your home, or you can get a subscription and have one delivered every month. Yeah. Rosanna is a Lebanese wrap restaurant, which is very popular at all times of the year, with students and non-students. And they do a really good Lebanese wrap. And of course, you can see there's so many choices of food here. Japanese food, Thai food. The Ashmolean Museum is also another great stop, which is right in front of the Randolph Hotel. And if you take the stairs on the right after the entrance, you come up to this beautiful old part of the Ashmolean Museum. And if you go all the way up, you'll see Turner's painting of Oxford, which is one of my favorite paintings. And I love this gallery because they have some of my favorite arts of pieces, which are Impressionist paintings. And so they have quite a lot of Pissarro, Renoir as well. And there's even, some, I think, Rodin as well. Yeah, so, and there's even, we have here the Thinker and, sculptures. And I also like violins, even though I don't play them, but we have a few Stradivarius. And this is all free for you to visit at the Ashmolean Museum, which I think is absolutely amazing. There's a nice cafe on the top, but we can just walk in, have a nice kind of walk in and look at the beautiful objects, be inspired. And if you have time in the evening at around 6 o'clock, several days a week, the and you feel you want to see Christchurch again, there's even songs going on in the evening, and it's just for an hour you listen to, get to really relax and enjoy the actually cathedral come to life. What's really a good place to eat if you like dishum, the famous Indian fusion food, is right next to, not too far off from Christchurch and near to Westgate Mall, so this is a good stop for dinner. There's a lot of restaurant choices in the area. There's Marks and Spencer's, there's Popeyes, there's also quite a few restaurants in Westgate Mall on the upper floor, or even in the food court downstairs. So there's really a lot of choices. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Please share with me where you're watching from. Leave it in the comments, and please like and subscribe. Thank you.